The Revolutionary Army is about to become one of the most important figures in the world of One Piece, preparing to begin the revolution and even potentially being in possession of a road poneglyph, but there's probably a lot of things you don't know about its many members or the way it operates, especially since a lot of it has been revealed only in databooks, SBS, and other side material. So allow me to tell you everything you need to know about the Revolutionary Army before they make their big move at the end of the series. To start things off, we need to understand how the Revolutionary Army is built, but much like a Yonko crew, they are basically distributed in a hierarchy of commanders and officers. At the very top, you have the Supreme Commander Monkey D. Dragon, followed by his number 2 Sabo, and then 5 commanders beneath him ruling the 5 armies in each of the 5 oceans, and each of the commanders having their own deputy officer. To start from the top though, we have the legend himself, Monkey D. Dragon. 55 years old and from East Blue, he was raised in the Goa Kingdom much like Luffy or Garp, but it seems the corruption of that kingdom left a deep impression on him. Not much is known about his past or lineage aside from the fact that Garp was said to have some form of connection to celestial dragons, which makes the name Dragon that Garp seemingly chose for him all the more interesting when you think about it. In his youth, he witnessed Roger's execution in person, some even believing that he is the one who caused the rain to fall at the end of his execution, and went on to found the Freedom Fighters Corps, a small militia attempting to stand against the government. However, after the incident of Ohara, Dragon decided to found the Revolutionary Army in full alongside his colleagues Ivankov and Kuma, which he would then begin to build up for the next 2 decades. During the period from 22 to 12 years ago, Dragon began sporting the scar-shaped mark on his face. While we've never seen Dragon seriously in action, it's almost certain that he has a devil fruit, being a fruit that allows him to generate and seemingly turn into wind, which could allude at a Logia Kazekaze no Mi wind fruit or something along those lines. This particularly fits with his ship being called the Wind Granma, a ship that is completely covered in black, which fits the rumors of the Far Scar man who can create, whirlpools with wind pretty accurately. It's also been confirmed that Dragon has a bounty, but there's always been a rumor associated with it that claimed he has the highest bounty in the story as the world's most wanted criminal, but this is simply an incorrect mistranslation. The accurate translation of his epithet is the world's worst criminal, with worst being the same used in Worst Generation. That he does have a bounty has been confirmed though, so it could be possible for his number to be insanely high, as after all, Roger was said to simply be the pirate with the biggest bounty, and Dragon ain't no pirate, he's a criminal. Also, fun little fact, it's practically confirmed that Dragon has Conqueror's Haki, as Ivankov attributed Luffy having Conqueror's Haki as being just like his father, but again, because it's never been explicitly said, we're still waiting a bit for it. Working under Dragon is Sabo, who acts as the number 2 of the Revolutionary Army, and is Chief of Staff, essentially acting like a Vice Captain. You obviously already know enough about his past with Luffy, his amnesia, and his joining the Revolutionary Army, but what interests us is this position in the current story, as after the 8-nation revolution inspired by Sabo's declaration of war against the Celestial Dragons during the Reverie, he's become revered in some places across the world as Entei, the Flame Emperor. Now, Sabo has seemingly found out the biggest secret in the history of the world government, being the existence of the hidden king, Imu-sama, which might mean a major change in the Revolutionary Army's focus now that he'll share that information with Dragon. His current bounty is 602 million belly, but I wouldn't be surprised if it went further up after everything that happened. Followingly, we have the 2 co-founders of the Revolutionary Army alongside Dragon, the first being Bartholomew Kuma, who simply ranks as an officer. Born as the king of the Sorbe Kingdom in the South Blue, of which he seemingly was a tyrant to his people, he was deposed and had to escape as a pirate, becoming a revolutionary after joining Dragon, and only finding a pardon from the government by becoming a Shichibukai in exchange for his old friend Vegapunk turning him into a living bioweapon. However, this choice to sacrifice himself for the sake of becoming a weapon seems to have been for the sake of some grander plan, as it has been alluded to, probably something that ties with Dragon, and something that appears to tie with Kuma's painful past that includes fragments of memories of his suffering in Marijua as a slave as a child, likely something to do with the fact that he's been stated to be a part of an incredibly rare race of people. Coupled with his sudden return to Marijua and the truth of his past that Bunny shouldn't have learned about, there seems to be a deep and complicated past lying in the heart of this gentle giant. On the other hand, we instead have Emporio Ivankov, who makes up one of the 5 commanders that overlook each of the oceans of the world. He is the commander of the Revolutionary G Army, which overlooks the Grand Line. Having eaten the Horu no Mi hormone fruit, Ivankov can change the genders of others and even themselves at will, switching between being a man or a woman whenever he or she most feels. Having been a founding member since the start, he's one of the few people who knows Dragon and Kuma the best. We don't even know if Ivankov had a bounty for certain, but given how he's been jailed and impaled down, it's almost certain he has one. We just don't know the number. Each of the army commanders then has a deputy commander serving under them, with Ivankov's case being Inazuma, who you likely well remember from the Impel Down arc, Ivankov's right-hand man and the user of the Choki no Mi, Scissors Fruit. As for the other commanders, we first have Belo Betty, commander of the Eastern Army, a free-spirited woman as clear by her outfit, and the user of the Kobu no Mi, the Cheer fruit, which encourages people to rally after her flag. Her design is likely based on that of Marianne, the personification of the French Revolution, who is also depicted as a woman with an exposed chest leading the people. She's got a 457 million belly bounty to her head. Under her, her deputy commander is Ahiru, a young woman of color with a mechanical arm that can seemingly pack quite a punch with it. Her name Ahiru is the Japanese word for bird. Morley is the commander of the Western Army, being a giant Okama who goes by feminine pronouns in Japanese, something that was confirmed in the figure cards as well. The name Morley is a pun on the sound effect mori mori, which is the sound that moles make while raising out of the ground. Morley possesses the Oshi no Mi, which allowed her to literally push any surface with ease, and it is actually these very powers that made the level 5.5 of Impel Down over 100 years ago before Morley escaped, making her the first ever escapee in the prison's history, even before Shiki, but the government is simply unaware of that. Even Ivankov himself is not aware of this fact. Morley has a 293 million belly bounty. Morley's deputy commander is Uciano, whose name is a very clear pun, as Ushi is the Japanese word for cow or bovine, seemingly being a cow mink. He seems to have limited understanding of our language, only speaking in small brief sentences. Lindbergh is the commander of the Southern Army, a cat mink with exceptional understanding of technology, even having developed a jetpack that allows him to fly. This likely ties in the origin of his name, having been named after Charles Lindbergh, a famous aviator who did the first solo transatlantic flight. I wouldn't be surprised if Lindbergh has had some sort of connection with Mads before, but while he is a bit younger than their period, being 37 years old, there could still have been some connection with them. He has a bounty of 316 million belly. His deputy commander is Gambo, a large egg-looking man with a large mustache. As his name suggests, Gambo appears to have a thing for gambling, often making reckless bets. Finally, we have Karasu, the commander of the Northern Army. Karasu may look menacing and brooding, but he is actually said to be a very kind soul, loving to partake in charity work and helping others, but he does seem to struggle at communicating his feelings across properly, particularly with the mask speaker he is always wearing. What is most mysterious about his power, however, is the ability to turn his body into several crows, flying birds with no eyes or features, so they don't particularly seem to be alive, seeming more to be made of some sort of substance. This has led to a lot of speculation of if he is a Logia, an awakened one perhaps turning his element into life, or some sort of mythical Zoan or something else, but we don't yet know enough to say. His bounty is of 400 million, and his name is pretty straightforward, as Karasu is the Japanese word for crow. And his deputy commander is Jiron, a man who appears to have the weird ability to be able to eat solid things, eating a spyglass in order to get an advantage over a bet with Gambo. Whether this is due to cyborg augmentations or some power is yet unknown. Beyond all the commanders and their deputy officers, Koala herself also qualifies as an officer of the Revolutionary Army, just not in any particular position, much like Kuma, who herself possesses a yet unknown bounty. She joined the army at 14 years old and has been good friends in particular with Sabo and Hack, the latter being another member of the army we saw during Dressrosa who serves as a fishman karate instructor, a knowledge he has imparted upon Koala. Finally, we only have the name of a couple other members, being Bunny Joe, the one who rescued Robin and killed a wolf, and Terry Gilteo, being Chief of Information and Communications Management. That forms all the known members of the Revolutionary Army from top to bottom, who now pose a major threat to the government due to both their knowledge of Imusema's existence and their military power in the race for the One Piece, particularly true if Dragon is indeed the Far Scar Man and possesses the final road poneglyph. This pretty much makes the Revolutionary Army the fifth and likely final playing team in the grand battle royale for the One Piece. At the moment, both the Kid Pirates and the Heart Pirates have been kicked out of the running, though the Heart Pirates have managed to retreat at least, with the Japanese terminology used being different for the two. One, the Kid Pirates being eradicated, and the Heart Pirates simply being defeated, meaning they'll retreat and maybe appear again in some form. But on the flip side, this has put the focus of the war onto the current generation of Yonko, with Luffy having to face against Shanks and Blackbeard in his way, and now, shockingly enough, even Buggy, for real. As we are told, Cross Guild is making the marine slowly more unstable, with the death of T-Bone making the news. Having been recently promoted to Vice Admiral, T-Bone was known for his kindness and devotion to the people, as mentioned ever since his introduction, but he also always said that he'd be willing to die for others, so it's likely that he offered his very life in exchange for the bounty to feed the people of the Pepe Kingdom. This is driving up business for Cross Guild, but while Crocodile is interested in building a military utopia like he tried to with Alabasta, and Mihawk simply wants to retire somewhere he can live his life out more quietly, Buggy instead decided to charge all of Cross Guild into the search for the One Piece. This is especially after seeing Shanks, who he always idolized and envied, deciding to hang back for the past 2 decades after what Roger told him after returning from Laugh Tale, likely having to do with the idea of being too early to fulfill his dream, and there needing to be someone to be born. Hence why Shanks may have been raising several different kids across the world in the hopes that one of them would become the Joy Boy we've seen arise. But now, Shanks is back on the move, and Buggy can't help but feel like it's some sort of fate that he doesn't want to miss on, dragging all of Cross Guild into chasing after the One Piece. Which brings our current battle royale to a grand clash between the 4 Emperors, the Straw Hat Pirates, the Red Hair Pirates, the Blackbeard Pirates, and now Cross Guild, and the Revolutionary Army as a 5th wildcard as they begin to strike the revolution to bring forth a big storm to change the world. More and more the final clash of the series with these 5 powerful forces, and on top of them the world government seems closer at hand as the war for the One Piece has already begun.